personality of Godhead, and which is generally called Vasudeva or consciousness, becomes manifest in the Mahatattva report. The Vasudeva manifestation, or the status of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is called pure goodness, or Shuddha Sattva. In the Shuddha Sattva status, there is no infringement of the other qualities, namely passion and ignorance. In the Vedic literature, there is mention of the Lord's expansion as the four personalities of Godhead: Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. Here, in the reappearance of the Mahatattva, the four expansions of Godhead occur. He who is seated within as Supersoul expands first as Vasudeva. The Vasudeva stage is free from infringement by material desires and is the status in which one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or the objective which is described in the Bhagavad Gita as Adbhuta. This is another feature of the Mahatattva. The Vasudeva expansion is also called Krishna consciousness, for it is free from all tinges of material passion and ignorance. This clear state of understanding helps one to know the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vasudeva status is also explained in Bhagavad Gita as Satragya, which refers to the knower of the field of activities, as well as the superknower. The living being who has occupied a particular type of body knows that body, but the superknower, Vasudeva, knows not only a particular type of body, but also the field of activities and all the different varieties of bodies. In order to be situated in clear consciousness, or Krishna consciousness, one must worship Vasudeva. Vasudeva is Krishna alone. When Krishna or Vishnu is alone, without the accompaniment of his internal energy, he is Vasudeva. When he is accompanied by his internal potency, he is called Dwarkadish. To have clear consciousness or Krishna consciousness, one has to worship Vasudeva. It is also explained in Bhagavad Gita that after many, many births, one surrenders to Vasudeva. Such a great soul is very rare. In order to get released from the false ego, one has to worship Sankarshan. Sankarshan is also worshipped through Lord Shiva. The snakes, which cover the body of Lord Shiva, are representations of Sankarshan, and Lord Shiva is always absorbed in meditation upon Sankarshan. One who is actually a worshipper of Lord Shiva, as a devotee of Sankarshan, can be released from false material ego. If one wants to get free from mental disturbances, one has to worship Aniruddha. For this purpose, worship of the moon planet is also recommended in the Vedic literature. Similarly, to be fixed in one's intelligence, one has to worship Pradyumna, who is reached through the worship of Brahma. These matters are explained in Vedic literature. Translation again. The mode of goodness, which is the clear, sober status of understanding the personality of Godhead, and which is generally called Vasudeva, or consciousness, becomes manifest in the Mahatattva. Danavir Maharaj, we would like to hear your comment on Srimad Bhagavatam.
four Chaturvyuha, 4 features of Lord Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha are different aspects of the Lord. In previous ages, these 4, for example, in Dvapara Yuga, these 4 were worshipped by different mantras. Mantra was basically the name of these 4, Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. And they are manifesting different features. For example, the Lord appears as, in Dvapara Yuga, he appears as Krishna. Krishna is the same Vasudeva. And Sankarshan appears as Brahmadi. But Shiva generally is Sankarshan. The reason this becomes apparent is because Kamsa, although he was a great demon, he was actually also, he became a great devotee of Vishnu. The 4, when he was killed when Krishna was quite young. Krishna and Balaram were just young boys when Kamsa ordered them to come to Mathura. And he wanted to kill them because he had heard that there was a prediction that he would be killed by this Vasudeva, Vishnu. And so he wanted to make sure that he killed Vishnu before Vishnu killed him. When he was killed, at that time he had seen only Krishna and Balaram, or Vasudeva and Sankarshan. And he was lamenting because he didn't get to see the other 2 forms. So he came back, made a comeback. He was killed by Lord Krishna in the wrestling arena. But then when Krishna, at that time, the boys were only, Krishna and Balaram were only around like adolescents. It says sometimes that they appeared older. Actually, they were younger, but they appeared older. Anyway, they were very, very old in terms of comparison. Like little boys. So that means they hadn't become married yet. They're unmarried. And later, Krishna married Rukmini. That was his first wife. Normally, the elder brother marries first. That's a policy. And that may have actually happened in this case, because Balaram, there was the marriage of Balaram was arranged with the king of Kakudni and his daughter was named Revati. And his daughter wanted to marry the strongest person, most powerful person. And she was a princess, and King Kakudni was great king. And he wanted to give his daughter her wish to have the marriage with the most powerful man. So he went searching. He went to Lord Brahma's abode. He had the power to travel to Lord Brahma's abode. And he had the power to take his daughter with him. And he and his daughter went to Lord Brahma's abode. And Brahma was busy at the time when they arrived. He was enjoying some performance, some type of dance or music performance. So they didn't want to interrupt him. And he finished seeing the performance. Afterwards, he met with King Kakudni and his daughter. And Kakudni told him that he wanted to find the most powerful man on the earth for his daughter to marry. And he asked Brahma if he could help arrange it. And Brahma laughed. He said, King, do you realize how much time has passed since you came here? Because he had been sitting there watching the later portion of the performance also. But during that half hour, whatever it was, on Brahmaloka, on earth, Brahma, our earth planet, the time is different. Thousand ages taken together equals one day. And these ages are Chaturuga, 4,300,000 Earth years equals Brahma's one day. So it wasn't that long. But if you take, let's say, an hour, that would be, you would divide the daytime, 4.3 by 24, an hour. That would mean 4.3 divided by 24. Mathematics. So it's a long time. Thousands and thousands of years on Earth. 4.3 divided by 24. Difficult to calculate. A long time. 179,000. Okay. So almost 180,000 years by Earth calculation. So now he said, someone told him, so how can you possibly expect to find a husband? All the men that were living then, they're all finished. In fact, no one even remembers their names. So King Kukumi was not aware of this. He didn't have full access, understanding of this, these differences in ages. So what should I do? And Brahma said, well, here's what you can do. Make sure that you arrive down there in the 7th Manu, and the 28th Millenniums. Yeah. So if you go down there and you take your daughter, Lord Balaram will be there. And she can have him as her husband. He's the most powerful. So it was great. They went, and sure enough, they arrived in time, and they married. So, yeah, so the Balaram and Krishna had not been married at this time yet. When Krishna killed Kamsa, he was not yet married. So he couldn't have any sons. So Kamsa didn't get to see Krishna's first son, Pradyumna, or his grandson, Aniruddha. And they both appeared as in the same names, Pradyumna and Aniruddha, as they are in the Vishnu category. And so when during the time that Krishna was on the planet here, and the 5 Pandavas were sent to the forest because they lost the gambling match, and they had to stay in the forest. While they were staying there, Lord Krishna ordered or suggested to King Ugrasena that he hold another Rajasuya sacrifice, because Krishna didn't like, before, he used to perform a Rajasuya sacrifice, and it was successful, and he defeated everyone on the whole earth. That was very nice. But then this gambling match took place. Cheating. The Shakuni, Uncle Shakuni, had arranged. He had these dice made from the bones of his father or grandfather, something like that. And they were so amazing, and he could make them come to anything he wanted, any number that he wanted. So Shakuni then, he made an arrangement by challenging the Pandavas, why don't you play dice with me? And I'll play on behalf of I'll roll the dice on behalf of my nephew. Duryodhana. No one could play dice as well as Shakuni, except Krishna. That's another story. How that happened. That the dice match took place when Krishna wasn't in the city at the time. And that's how they won. So during the time they were exiled, this Rajasuya sacrifice was held by Ugrasena. And Ugrasena invited everyone, all the great kings, all the sages in the universe, demigods, they all came. Because Ugrasena was so wealthy and so pious. Because he was in his former life, he had the name Naruto. I was thinking he was here in Kansas City for some time. Naruto Das. So he was the one who it was declared that no one has ever performed a Rajasuya sacrifice like that, nor would they ever want in the future. He was unique. So, during that time, Kamsa came. After he had been killed, he came back. And he had 8 brothers, if I'm not mistaken. And they were also killed by Krishna and Balaram. They attacked first, but still. And when they came back, they had become, because of being killed by Krishna, they became great devotees. Completely pure devotees. They were in Vaikuntha, but they came back for the sacrifice. And they were offering obeisances to the Lord and all the other sages there. These become completely transformed. And Kamsa's great desire was to see the other 2 forms of Vishnu, all 4 together. That was a request that he had. And so that request was filled by the Lord. So we learn many things from that in the past time. How one can become a hater of Vishnu. He had made some offenses. Kamsa before he had made some offenses. And so he became an enemy of Vishnu. But no one can defeat Krishna or Vishnu. And even if a demon tries to do so, he'll be defeated by them. And he'll be purified. And this is a wonderful thing about God, is he's not belligerent. He has no bad feelings towards anyone. And who can be his enemy? He's so powerful. He's the source of everything. There's no question of defeating him. But why does he do this? Why does he have these pastimes? Because he's God. He likes to do that. He likes to have performances. Why is a wealthy man, why does he do so many different things? He's a great wealthy man. He likes to have beautiful women around. He likes to have powerful men around. his like some intelligent men around, his ministers, his bodyguards, his wives, his daughters, his children, his parents, in the opulence. When Krishna was on the planet, he wanted Earth to be the most glorious place in the whole universe. And so he arranged for different aspects of the universe to come to this earth. It's like the Parijata flower. His wife, Rukmini, had been given a gift of getting the Parijata flower. And our Muni had got one and he gave one to her. She was very qualified. So she got that flower, but Krishna had many queens, thousands of queens. And his second queen, not second in order of marriage, but in order of her respect. She was very highly respected. In fact, Krishna often said that she was his most beautiful queen. And that wasn't something that Satyabhama was easily going to forget. But when she found out that Rukmini had received a Parijata flower, which is the greatest flower in the universe. Parijata flower was not just a flower that was fragrant. It could do anything. It was like a wish-fulfilling tree. Anything you wanted, you can get from the Parijata. So Krishna promised his wife, Satyabhama, that he would get her a whole Parijata tree because she liked competition. She wanted to have more than her sister queen. So he took her with him when it was time to fight with Bhaumasura. Bhaumasura was terrorizing the demigods. He took away the umbrella, the earrings of Aditi, mother of the demigods. And they begged him. Indra came. They couldn't defeat Bhaumasura. Was too powerful. So they begged Krishna to please come. And Krishna said, well, I'll come and do it for you on the condition that I will take the Parijata tree for my wife. And he said, yes, of course. Whatever you want. And they were badly being defeated by Bhaumasura. So they went, Krishna and Satyabhama. She was very adventurous. She wasn't afraid to go on the back of Garuda. They flew down on the back of Garuda, not down, because it was up, kind of up, in heavenly planets. So she came on the back of Garuda with Krishna. And she was also fighting. But it turned out into a big war. And Krishna defeated Bhaumasura. He killed him. And when he killed Bhaumasura, that meant that all the princesses that he had captured were now no longer in his prison. He was killed. Bhaumasura was killed. So Krishna said to all the girls, my dear ladies, you're now free. You can go wherever you like. You're no longer under the rule of the demon Bomasura. And they stayed there. They all stood there. And he said, well, you're not going. He said, well, we can't go home because no one will marry us now. We've been under this demon's control for so long. No husband, no Kshatriya husband will marry us. So Krishna said, well, what do you want? They said, we want you to marry us. So he agreed. He married all 16,100 of those princesses, the ones that had been kidnapped. So these different forms of the Lord for different pastimes. He enjoys himself. He's the supreme enjoyer. When he wants to enjoy with women, he doesn't have to do it like someone here might try. They do that sometimes. Sometimes a big sports star, they like to find many women and enjoy with them to show how great an athlete they are and how great a man they are. And they sometimes they keep track. Thousands, one had 1,000 women, says. So that's just a number. But no one ever did equal that, 16,108. That's Krishna. Someone might say that they sometimes criticize Krishna. He's so lusty. He married so many women. He's not lusty. But even if he were lusty, he's not really lusty. No one else can marry as many and satisfy the queens. He made them queens. They're all princesses. And he gave them all palaces. Their own palace made of marble and jewels and gold. And each palace was specially designed by the architect of the demigods. Vishwakarma, yes. He designed all the palaces. And each one was designed just particularly for that princess, that queen. Just the way she liked it, the colors and ambience. So when the Lord does something, he does it. So we shouldn't expect God to be just like an ordinary man on the street. If he's God, he should do something wonderful. Not now, like now that they declare they're God, and someone says, well, what do you do that makes you glad? Well, I add a little gold, or sometimes they make some stones come out of their mouth. So if having a little gold makes someone qualified to be God, then Krishna is more qualified than in the present day. So we should expect that when God does something, it's the greatest. It's going to be the best. It'll have everything. And it'll do everything at the same time. It won't just show one side of his ability. It'll show all of the sides. And that's why Krishna, his appearance is so unique. Because, for example, when Lord Ramachandra appeared, it was before Krishna came. And all women wanted to marry him. He was so handsome. All the women in Yodhya, all the women who lived in the forest wanted to marry him. There's many. And so, but the Lord in these different forms, like Lord Ramachandra, he said, I cannot marry you. I took a vow to only have one wife. And that's Sita. I already have one wife. So, but what I'll do is, when I come again, you'll come and you'll be my wife. So they were all waiting for that time. Sometimes they're sent to the heavenly planets or Vaikuntha or somewhere. During those times when Krishna hadn't yet appeared. So they came, and you read all the stories in the Bhagavatam and Garga Samhita and other scriptures in Bhagavad. But how these different ladies were, it was arranged for them to become the wives of Lord Krishna, either as wives or as gopis, like wives. Thank you.